Okay, so I want to show you how we're going to turn our data into a graph. You can see this is the same data table that we've been using. I just reduced a lot of the data, made it a lot smaller. We only go down to 3 minutes. You can see I have my numbers in here, my temperatures for my soil and water. A key feature here is I don't have any letters next to it. I don't have Fahrenheit or Celsius or degrees, because when you make a graph, you can't graph letters. The computer won't do that. The computer is only going to graph these numbers. So what do I have to do next to make my graph is I need to highlight everything I want in my graph. That would include all of these numbers, but I also need these labels, the soil and water temperature, and I need the numbers on the side. There will be times where you can just highlight everything, but in this case, we can't do that. We have this big title up here, this testing of the heating and cooling rates of soil and water. We do not want to highlight that. We just want to highlight our data numbers that we put in and the labels for this column, which is soil, the label water, and the label time, and our time that we have here, the 0, 1, 2, 3. So that's what we highlight. The next step is we go to our chart maker, where we're going to insert our chart. We click on this, and it basically does all the work for you. It comes up with a recommendation, and it realizes that we're using time and temperature. And normally when you have a measurement of time, it's going to give you a line graph. If you don't like any of the recommendations, you can click on chart types here, and it will give you a bunch of different options. We can do a line, an area, column, bar. So let's say we want to do a column. And you can look off to the right here, and it gives you a preview of what your chart's going to be like. So that looks pretty good. I'm happy with the way that looks. If I would need to switch it, there are some things we could do. We could switch our row and column information, which just by clicking on that, you can get a preview. Now it combined all my soil temperature and all my water temperature together, and the colors are the minute marks. I'm going to go back to what it gave us. I'm going to stick with that, and all I have to do is hit insert. Now, it now has put that chart on top of our data table. We don't really want it there. We need to move it. So the way we're going to work in this table is to hit this drop down arrow here, and a new menu comes down, and we want to move this chart to its own sheet. When I do that, you can see now down at the bottom here's a new tab. It says chart 2, but you can see how much larger it is. This chart is now its own page in this document. When we are grading these, the things we're looking for, obviously, did you have all the data points plotted properly? As long as you put the numbers in, that will come up properly. Do you have your x-axis, your horizontal axis labeled? It already did that for me in time and minutes, and that's the correct label. I do not have my vertical axis or my y-axis labeled, so I'm going to have to do that. And my title is not correct, so I'm going to fix that. The way you fix those is we have to go into the advanced edit. I click on that, and I will get my menu just like we started off with. First thing, the title, I'm going to change that. Your title for your graphs are always going to be your x-axis versus your y, or your y versus your x. So in this case, if we do x versus your y, it's time versus temperature. As soon as I click out of that, it updates it automatically. Now I need to scroll down, and I need to look at my axis. Right now it says horizontal, which is this one. I don't want to change that one. The drop-down menu behind axis shows me that, oh, there's the left vertical. So I click on that. There's nothing in the title. This is going to be our temperature in Celsius. I click out of that. It inserts it automatically. And for the most part, I'm finished. You can move, we can change the axis label, the maximum and minimum amounts. If it looks like it's getting too stretched out or too small, you can play with some of these other things. But the key is, did you get your temperature in there, or your title, your y-axis, and your x-axis? You can go and change some of the colors and the fonts, things like that. But what we're looking for is are those 3 main things there, how your data table looks as a graph, and do you have the color, is it color coded properly? So I hit update, it puts it in here, and now I have a graph. If I would need to make a printout of this, we could just save it as an image and print that out. Otherwise, it's fairly easy. Going to have you guys work on these on your own today so that you can get practice making your own chart. All right, good luck.